Hello everyone. So welcome back to the channel. So yes, we are starting a new syllabus, a new topic today. So new subject today, economy, Indian economy. See, we all should know that economy is not only an important subject for mains but also for prelims. So around at least 15 to 17 questions come from prelims and GS3 paper. It forms a major part of economy. So we all should know that we are not reading economics but economy, which will again work as a part in moving further in further lectures. So with that being said, let's get into the lecture. So this lecture, this subject in particular will be of very interesting topic, to be honest. So let's start. So first one, before starting or before diving deep into topics, in this lecture, as I said earlier, we will be looking into basics of economics. So first, what is economy and what is economics? See, economy and economics play a role in structure of finances and management of resources. Like, they might look or sound familiar, but they have significant difference. See, here economics is an area of study which examines how the communities manage the scarce resources to meet the requirements. According to British economist Lionel Robbins, economics is a science of scarcity. See, we should all know that there is no unlimited resources here. There is no unlimited resources here. So everything is scarce in here. How we manage that is economics, and that is science of scarcity. On the other hand, economy denotes about the connecting aspects of money, resources, and goods and services, which form as three crucial elements of production, distribution, and consumption. See, we should know here that production, distribution, consumption, right? So a company produces and distributes to others, and the distribution happens to consumers, and the consumers pay to the producers. I mean, consumers buy from them, and eventually it benefits the producers. So this cycles keep on going. So to make it on a clearer stand, let's discuss again. P, production, distribution, and consumption. Here, the producers produce and distributors buy from it, and the consumers buy from the distributors. So here, consumers pay to the distributors for buying their price, and those distributors buy to the producers. So it's nothing like we can take it like this is retail and this is wholesale. So we can remember like that. So it will be very much beneficial. Like, it compasses institutions, regulations, and processes which facilitates the economic transactions and connections. So let's move further. So economics is divided into three: macro, micro, and mesoeconomics. Like, the Great Depression of 1930s divided the domain of economics into macroeconomics and microeconomics, where John Maynard Keynes was considered as the father of macroeconomics. So let's look into what is macroeconomics. It examines the aggregate or national level dealing with the broader aspects such as GDP, inflation, national income, in economic growth, and etc. Like it analyzes an entire economy. It analyzes an entire economy and its performance through various factors like monetary systems, government policies, trade, which again here influences the growth and stability of the country. What is microeconomics? It focuses on individual components of economy where it explores like supply and demand, market structures, consumer choice, allocation of resources. Like this branch, actually, microeconomics in particular shows us how individual decisions and interaction impact the resources and the distribution of goods and services on the general. Now, what is mesoeconomics? See, it is an intermediate level of economic analysis which bridges the gap between microeconomic and mesoeconomic macroeconomics, which examines specific sectors such as industries or certain segments of country like healthcare, education, infrastructure, and here we ought to know that it analyzes into policies and challenges particular to a sector which influence both individual businesses and broader macroeconomic environment. So that's what makes it the difference between macro, micro, and mesoeconomics. Like we learned now, we since we know what is macro, micro, and mesoeconomics, let's look into different approaches to study economics. So you might ask me why, as I said earlier, we might need to learn about basics of economy, basics of economics to learn or to get into further lectures to understand economy properly. So just for basic knowledge we'll be learning into it, but still questions have been asked from the basics of economy from this lecture, be it in prelims or mains, and as the lecture goes in, I'll let you know. We'll discuss the PYQs as well. So let's start with political economy. It's an interdisciplinary approach which is a branch of social science which focuses on interrelationship of individuals, governments, public policies. Here in political economics we read things such as capitalism, socialism, mixed economy. Those all come under political economics. Like it helps in economy in reading in terms of GDP, global trade, fiscal policy, etc. The rise of globalism and global trade has really meant that the political economy of one country can impact the political economy of one country here can impact both the economy and politics of others too. Yes, we have seen that recently in Operation Sindoor, or we can call it, or the recent Iran-Israel war, which is leading to the rise in oil prices around the world. Yes, that's an example. So moving on to the Keynesian economics. See, it advocates for government intervention in the economy to stabilize and stimulate economic activity, particularly during the times of recession or depression. Like state is expected to provide economic stimulus during the periods of slowdown. Like this part happened in India quite back. Like here on Atmanirbhar Bharat, we can call it, the economy went down during the period of COVID. So government had to step in and bring in the required um, spend. Government had to spend some money and required to push the economy back on track, like which, because it creates economic activity and attracts investments to increase demands and businesses. Next, Gandhian economics. See, it's based on the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi about the distribution and management of wealth. See, according to Gandhi, he wanted to build a self-sufficient, self-sufficient uh, society where each community should be self-reliant. Like in Gandhian economy, trusteeship is a very major principle in Gandhian economics, where he recommends on keeping aside the personal need or investment and wants to help the poorest of the poor. Like it is based on the faith that human nature is never beyond redemption. Developmental economics. Developmental economics is a branch of economics whose goal is to better the fiscal, economic, social conditions of developing countries and also focus on factors such as health, working conditions, education, and market conditions. See, this development economics in particular emerged after World War II, particularly to the responses faced by newly independent nations. Like some prominent economists here were Amartya Sen, for example, was one such prominent economist who was into developmental economics. Now let's continue this with the liberal economics. See, this is important part. Liberal economics is very important part for to understand the next, upcoming parts in economics, economic GS3 subject, liberal economics, mixed economics, socialist will all be dealing it together. Let's look into it. See, Adam Smith proposed the idea of invisible hand in the economy, which means people working for their self-interest. Here, self-interest is a highlight keyword. Produce unintended social benefits and the public benefits. This branch of economics mentioned that the state should limit itself to only providing supporting service like infrastructure, judiciary, defense, etc., while the economy should be left to the market forces. That is Liza Sarabur. Like left to market forces, it's market forces, which means it should be left to the market. The market will decide the cost price, selling price, everything. Like a good example of liberal economics, liberal economy, you can call it the United States of America, Switzerland, or Australia. Australia are very good examples of liberal economics. However, they have some features, merits and demerits as well. So let's look into private property. Now let's look into the features. See, all the resources here belong to the private, be it land, capital, machines, are all owned by the individuals and government has nothing into it. Freedom of choice. Individuals can carry out any occupation or trade as per their wish, and consumers are free to buy products as per their wish. Profit as main motive. Profit is the main motive here. So producers always try to maximize the profit from their product. Free competition. Since there is no limit or no government has no control over buyers and sellers choices, so there is always competition between different producers. Price mechanism. The market forces determine the price. The government has no role again in this market price. Now, what are the merits? See, there is more efficiency as the producers are produced on the demands of the consumers, not for someone or to keep it just at stake. Better scope for invention. Since the competition is high, companies look to obtain market through their products with a higher or better scope, better invention. Discourages any form of discourages any form of discrimination. See, it discourages any form of discrimination so that trade can take place between two parties or two consumers or between a consumer and a producer without any barriers. Consumer satisfaction. That is the ultimate goal of producers, and the resources are best utilized because profit is the main motive, because of which the resources are best utilized. However, they have some demerits as well. Capitalism might lead to inequalities in income because the people who own the capital keep on growing, while the people who sell their labor might not grow as much. Environmental problems. A high profit earning motive of a capitalist economy uh, is to earn profit, so it might create problems to environment which might destroy the natural balance. Duplication of products might lead to large wastage of resources. The society is heavily stratified on income, and as capitalists who own the production and workers who sell their labor to the people who own the production components. So this is liberal economics. Hope you guys are clear of this. Now let's look into the socialist economics. It is a branch of economics where the private property does not exist and the national economy is completely in the hands of government. It is an economy where producers and services are produced for use rather than the profit. A good example here we can call is China. China is a socialist economy. Let's look into the features. The government owns the means of production, which means no private property is available. So, no competition and consumers have limited choice over here because there's government owns everything. Price is not determined by the market forces but by government. Everyone is equal in terms of economic status in the eyes of government. See, everyone is equal according to the government because all the production happens through the government. Here wealth distribution is the major goal, not wealth production. Wealth production is not the major goal, whereas wealth distribution is a major goal of the socialist economy. Let's look into some merits. Reduction in inequalities as the exploitation of poor and resources by rich is not allowed or is not possible, to be honest. No conflict between rich and poor as the state is classless. Proper wealth distribution which can happen on an impartial manner. Socialist economies offer accessible services and affordable public services such as healthcare, education, and social services for all citizens. Central planning leads to stable and reduced fluctuations in the economy, which can put into positive growth of an economy. However, let's look into some demerits. Lack of innovation. So absence of profit or competition, profit motives or competition can lead to limited innovation and technological advancements. Next one is red tapeism of bureaucracy, which might cause delays due to inefficiency, corruption, or even favoritism can play in. Market failures, like socialist economies, might struggle with addressing the market failures such as public goods and externalities without proper mechanisms, like in the supply and demand mechanism. Government control of resources and industry might sometimes lead to misallocation of resources and inefficiency. Sometimes government might allocate a large sum of amount for a department or ministry which might not need much, but a ministry which might need more money will not be allocated that much fund. So misallocation of resources and the inefficiency can be caused. So hope you guys understood the difference in socialist economics. Now let's look into the mixed economy. In this type of economy, both private public sectors coexist and work together towards economic development, where it combines both capitalism and socialism. A good example, as you all know, India is an example, Japan is an example for mixed economy. Now, what are the features? Property and means of production are owned by both public and private sector. Yes, both government and private sector plays a vital role in the mixed economy, because not all the products are produced by the economy or the government sector or private sector. And even though government has advantage on nationalizing some sector, but still private sectors play a vital role. Government plays a role in regulating various aspects of the economy, like welfare programs or certain rules for private sectors to exist, private sectors to exist. So this all is done by government. The state has ultimate control about on how much freedom the private sector owns. State can limit the privacy or limit the freedom if it thinks. Here again, the public sector typically oversees areas that are considered strategically important for nation's interest or may not be profitable enough for private businesses. A good example, you can call it railways, atomic energy. These are all exclusively managed by the government, as they are of nation's interest and not specifically given for private. Now, what are the merits? Great flexibility. Mixed economies provide for a great flexibility as advantages of both public and private sector work together, which helps in tackling the economic conditions and social needs. Can provide stable economic environment, as because they combine both the market mechanisms with the government interventions to mitigate the risks and uncertainties in a business cycle. Promote balanced economic growth. Mixed economics can promote balanced economic growth as well, because they combine the private enterprise along with government intervention to ensure that the growth is sustainable and equitable and the benefits are shared widely across the society. Taxation is progressive and wealth distribution is better. See, this is currently seen in our budget. So if you earn up to 1 lakh, amount of tax must be paid. If you earn more than 5 lakh, certain amount of tax must be paid. So the taxation is progressive. The higher you earn, the higher you pay the tax. That is progressive taxation. However, even mixed economy has some demerits as well. Coordination between the two sectors will be difficult, like um, public and private sectors here. The coordination between two will be difficult, because private sector has profit as motive, and government sector, public sector has welfare as their motive. The coordination might be difficult. Both private sector and public sector sometimes compete each other rather than cooperating, widening inequality. Because ownership of resources, laws of inheritance, and private properties are allowed, and thus the inequalities are large and the inequality might widen. Government intervention in mixed economies can lead to bureaucratic inefficiency, as the government agencies might become complex and highly bureaucratic in their operations, which might tamper the efficiencies. So, with this, we looked into different sectors, different approaches to study economics. So, let's move into the next topic. Different consensus. So, what is different consensus? So, it's nothing but like agreement which is discussed by few people together in certain sectors. In this topic, we are speaking about the economic sense. We have three consensus to be discussed: Beijing consensus, Washington consensus, and Santiago consensus. So let's look into one by one. It refers to the policies, starting from Beijing consensus. It refers to the policies which is followed by Deng Xiaoping of China since 1978 and was propagated by Cooper Remo in 2004. Like it speaks about state being a dominating player in the economy. Like it has three pillars which states constant experiments and innovation. Constant experiment and innovation, peaceful distributive growth, and self-determination. As part of growth. See, some experts here have proclaimed that this consensus as the death of market, because with the slowdown of economic growth sometimes, and economists actually recommend this method to be followed with caution and not blindly, because it might cause a death of the market which might push the economy down. There are some criticism as well. Whatever positives may be, there might be some criticism. See, what worked for China might not work for others. See, some blame the rise of protectionism and reduced globalization on countries that are tilted towards Beijing consensus to witness the rapid growth. Yes, it might increase work on protectionism and deglobalization, to be honest. Now next is Washington consensus. This was suggested by IMF, World Bank, and US Treasury Department, which recommends structural reforms to increase the role of market forces in exchange of immediate help. Like they have 10 points, like fiscal discipline, redirecting the public expenditure, tax reforms, financial liberalization, adoption of single and competitive exchange rate, trade liberalization, elimination of barriers to foreign direct investments, privatization of state-owned enterprises, deregulation of market entry and competition, and secure property rights. See, we should all know that uh, to maintain this consensus, actually something like Washington's consensus changed or happened in the 1991 economic LPG reforms. Like structural reforms happened and economy opened up later part. So India has undergone a part in this Washington consensus. See here, it see countries which might go to IMF or World Bank as well might sometime ends up in reduce the role of state in economic affairs and greater role of private sector, which we saw in the 1991 economic reforms as well. However, there are always limitations, like free trade is advantageous to countries whose domestic industries are able to compete. Otherwise, it will suffer to the max. See, privatization before basic social needs are fulfilled can leave a nation with little and deter investors as their income grows. A good example we can bring here is Bolivia. This country actually privatized its water industry under the IMF pressure, and many could no longer water. This is something which it's a basic need for a human to live, and privatization of it was a bad move, and eventually a lot of efforts have been taken to remove that. Santiago consensus. See, it is considered as a alternative to Washington consensus, in particular for developing countries, and was recommended by the then World Bank Group President James Wolfenson. See, it clearly focuses on economics as well as social inclusion. See, apart from financial aid, it works on harnessing the best global practices and IT, that is information technologies, to suit the local conditions, like focusing on socio-economic development, inclusive growth, etc., are part of the Santiago consensus. And this socio-economic development or inclusive growth is clearly seen in India through welfare programs, other programs as well. So, with this, we have looked into different consensus. Now, moving on to the different schools of economics. Mercantilism is a school of economics which emphasizes to promote a nation's prosperity and power through restrictive trade practices, whose goal was to use export to increase the state's gold and silver reserve. Like its main aim is to increase the domestic employment. Domestic employment. Like it was known in the colonial times, where it was said to protect business of interest and of producers and merchants, like British East India Company. One model of mercantilism was followed by China since 1980s, where it allows foreign companies to build companies for export purposes, which led Chinese companies coming up to compete. Like mercantilism, like as I told you earlier, it prime aim is to increase domestic employment, which is currently seen in the United States of America by Trump. Like make great America great again, and putting in high tariffs for other products, brings in local industries to boom and bring in domestic employment. Next one is behavioral economics. It is a school of economics where it's an interdisciplinary field which incorporates insights from different disciplines to analyze and influence economic behavior. Like Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Economics in 2017 Nobel Prize in Economics, says the anomalies in the behavior of people can't be explained by existing rational theories. Like it can use like cleanliness, social work. These all work come under behavioral economics, or it shows how an economy does that, how an economy is maintaining the cleanliness, how an economy is in getting involved in social work. These all come into the behavioral economics. A few things we can see in India is Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Swachh Bharat is one such thing, one such program again. So behavioral economics is very well seen in India. Green economics is a school of thought within the economics which emphasize the importance of sustainable, environmentally friendly practices. See it like here, it critically addresses the critical issue of balancing economic growth along with the environmental preservation, aiming for harmonious coexistence between humans and nature. Like you can call it green revolution here, which was a part of the green, which is a part of green economics here. Actually, it caused land degradation in many parts of the country. In many parts of the country, and water scarcity in many parts of the country. So different bodies and governments with their indices to measure the green economy, or green GDP is one aspect. Different bodies have come. Green GDP has come up to measure the economy without by considering the environmental health as well. Moving on to the health economics. It's an applied field of study that allows for systematic and rigorous examination of the problems in promoting health for all, like health indicators, preventive curative measures, budgetary allocation for health, medical research and education. See, health economists here study the healthcare system and those behaviors that affect health, like smoking. They study the smoking habits of the people, the economics of the people, and derive the theory out of it, derive the answer out of it. So these are the different schools of economics. Now moving on to the important part of the lecture, different sectors of economy. See, we have divided into different parts actually. Now we will be looking into based on the economic activity. So primary activity. Based on economic activity, it has been divided into primary activity, secondary, tertiary, quaternary and quinary sector. In primary sector, it involves all the economic activities that involve the processing of raw materials which is extracted from the primary sector. See, it is called so because it forms as the base for all the other sectors. When agriculture, if agriculture contributes minimum of 50% or more to GDP, it's called agrarian economy. People engaged in the primary activities are called red collar workers because it's their outdoor nature of work. Approximately around 45.5% in financial year 2022-23 were employed in the primary sector, according to the economic survey of 2024 and 25. This shows that a lot of people are employed in this sector. Moving on to the secondary sector. It involves all the economic activities that involve the processing of raw materials which is extracted from the primary sector. Raw materials or processing the raw materials which is extracted from the primary sector, like it's also known as manufacturing sector. See, it produces goods, not manufactures or gives raw materials. Like example, you can kill textile is produced from the raw materials given by primary sector. Factories producing steel, chemicals, plastic, everything is got from the primary sector. So people engaged here are called blue collar workers, and approximately here 26.1 percentage of people were involved in the activities of secondary sector. Next one is tertiary sector. This sector is dominated by services led by economic actors such as banking, healthcare, education, etc. See, it's also said to be an economy is said to be a services economy when it is dominated by services, uh, dominated by service sector. It can also be called as service economy. Economic survey of 2024 and 25 says that approximately service sector or tertiary sector, you can call it, provides to around 30 percentage of people, provides employment to 30 percentage of the workforce. Next is quaternary sector. These are specialized activities in knowledge sector which demand separate classification. Like it's an intellectual aspect of the economy where it enables the entrepreneurs to innovate and also improve the quality of services offered in the economy, like personnel working in office buildings, schools, classrooms, hospitals, doctors, offices, theaters, accounting, brokerage firms, all come into this sector. Like the tertiary functions, quaternary functions can also be outsourced. See, quaternary sector is the highest or top level decision which also includes the government passing legislation. It raises capital from collecting tax. This sector provides job security, housing, and other benefits such as pensions and allowances as well, like railways, defense, are all. Oh, my apologies. Like it gives like business executives, government officials, these all come under quaternary sector. So this is the different sectors of economy which is based on economic activity. Now let's look into one previous year question which was asked in 2024. One prelims POQ which was asked in 2024. Yes. With reference to the Indian sectors of the Indian economy, consider the following pairs: storage of agricultural produce, secondary sector; dairy farm, primary; mineral exploration, tertiary; weaving cloth, secondary. How many pairs of the given above are correctly matched? See, just take some time, and try to find out which sector is, which economic activity belongs to which sector, and just look into if it has matched your part. Storage of agricultural produce. See, first one is storage is a facility or a service which requires movement and preservation of goods. Like it doesn't involve manufacturing, no manufacturing here. Okay, so it falls under tertiary sector. Here, the first point is wrong. Next one is dairy farm. It involves directly using natural resources, which are animals, to produce milk. So it belongs to primary sector. Yes. Mineral exploration. Mineral exploration involves the direct extraction or identification of natural resources from earth. Yes. The activity falls under the primary sector, particularly mining and quarrying. Here it says secondary sector, tertiary sector, which is wrong. So weaving cloth, it involves transforming a natural product into a completed good, like manufacturing a good, like textured cloth. This activity belongs to secondary sector. So out of all these answers, option 2 is the right one. So this we can learn from class 10 NCRT. Where answers can be guessed in class 10 NCRT of economy. So let's look into the next part of the different sectors of economy based on ownership. Public sector, private sector, and PPP. See, these public sectors are organizations which are owned and controlled, or where the majority stake is with the central or local government or even state governments, where its main focus is to serve public and their welfare. Like it is railways, defense, police. These are all coming under the public sector. Private sector, ownership, management and controls lie with either individuals, group or privately owned companies, but government has no interference into their day-to-day activities. A good example, like it offers better salary, merit-based performance, promotion and recognition of good work in private sector. IT, tourism, these are all private sectors. Next one is public-private partnership. It works on the partnership between one or multiple public or private bodies, usually on long-term projects. National highways is always a PPP thing. It helps in attracting funds and gives expertise for certain projects, which is usually benefit for the general public. Airports, metro, these all are come under public-private partnership. In the recent past, a train called Tejas Express was also bought under private sector, PPP. So moving on to the next different sectors of economy based on working condition. The working conditions here are good and fixed, where employees have social benefits which includes provident fund, pension, etc. The jobs here are registered with the government and different laws and rules, that rules and regulations apply to them. We can call it banking, nursing, are all coming under organized sector. Prevalence of jobs in this sector is quite low. Only around 7 to 10% of the workforce is working in the organized sector. Coming on to the unorganized sector, it's a home-based worker or self-employed worker or wage worker in the unorganized sector. It includes a worker in the organized sector who is not covered by any of the acts pertaining to the welfare schemes as mentioned under Schedule 2 of the Unorganized Workers and Social Security Act of 2008. See, there is no legal or union protection and a lack of income and employment is possible. It contributes, this sector contributes to 60% to the national income, and around approximately 90% of the workforce is in the informal sector according to 2024 Indian Employment Report by ILO, that's International Labour Organization. So this shows how our economy is running. Unorganized sector contributing majorly to the economy. Now moving on to the next. Different sectors of economy based on its interaction with the other economies in the world. Closed economy. A closed economy is a theoretical model where a country conducts its economic activities entirely within its own border, with no international trade, capital flows, or movement of labor, and aims for international self-sufficiency. Practically, there is no closed economy. It might be closed, but entirely closed, no, they are not closed. We can call North Korea as an example of closed economy. They are closed, but not entirely closed economy. Next one is open economy. Interacts freely with other economies worldwide through international trade, capital flows, and sometimes even labor movement. India is an open economy, and it opened up only after 1991. Until then, it was quite a closed economy. Germany, Singapore, they are all open economy around the world. Now let's look into one PYQ which was asked in 2011. A closed economy is an economy in which money supply is fully controlled. No. Deficit financing takes place. No. Only exports take place. No. With that, where no exports or imports take place. A closed economy is where no exports or imports take place, and this is something we must know. It was asked in 2011. Now let's look into the domestic economy and its sector. It includes which provides free services to people, government sector, like households with certain goods and services, financed through taxes and incomes, like wealth redistribution. Defense is a government sector which we can which we can take into consideration. What is real sector? It refers to all real or non-financial elements of an economy. We can call enterprises here are part of real sector, like they hold money of an economy. Financial sector. This sector is known as money issuing sector, as it includes corporations which are basically in financial activities and intermediations, like banks are into the financial sector. However, include those corporations don't incur liability on the, like dealers, stock exchanges, foreign currency exchanges, they all do not come under the financial sector. Okay, now what is the case of India in this aspect? See, India transformed from agricultural economy to services economy, skipping the manufacturing economy, because of which the phase of jobless growth has occurred, because manufacturing sector brings in more jobs rather more than the services sector, like because IT, communications all have less jobs compared to the manufacturing economy. Now let's look into what are the trade-offs. See, as I said in the first initial stages of the lecture, economy is scarcity, study of scarcity. So basic assumption of economics is scarcity, and therefore there have to be trade-offs. It is a situation where choosing one option might require sacrificing some aspects of the other. Example, RBI here can hike the interest rate to target inflation. Okay. See, inflation can be brought into control, but economic growth might get a bit slow. Inflation can be brought in control, but economic rate growth can be slow. It is like if you choose one thing, we have to sacrifice something else. Similarly, government may subsidize some products which might increase the expenses of the or debt of the government, but addresses poverty and ensures stability in the economy. So this is something trade-offs. Opportunity cost. What is that? Whenever there's a trade-off, there's always a hidden opportunity cost. Like example, you have 1 lakh rupee. You can either build road or school. If you build a road, that 1 lakh goes to this, and school will not be built. So if you build road, then the opportunity cost occurs for not going to school. If you build a school, opportunity cost occurs for not building the road. This is something like there's always a hidden opportunity cost. So there was also a PAQ which we can look into it. If a commodity is provided free to the public by government, then it was asked in 2018, the opportunity cost is 0. Now it cannot be 0 because there is something always to be. The opportunity cost is ignored. No, the opportunity cost is transferred from the consumers of the product to the government. No, government does not take everything. The opportunity cost are transferred from the consumers of the product to the tax-paying public. Yes. Opportunity costs here actually are transfer. If a commodity is provided free, for example, in public distribution system, if something is provided free to public for some people, the money government doesn't pay. Rather, that money is taxed. This money is paid by tax-paying public. Government here doesn't pay from its own finances. It takes it from the tax-paying public. That opportunity cost are transferred from consumers of the product to the tax-paying public. Now let's look into the consumer goods and the capital goods. Here consumer goods. The goods are consumed to satisfy the needs of the customers. There are durable and non-durable. Automobiles are durable and it does not get into wear and tear immediately, but food or beverages or have immediate or for immediate consumption and should be done here. Next one is capital goods, like goods that are of durable nature and are used in the production processes and also undergoes wear and tear, which must be repaired from time to time. Machinery, example. Equipments, they all come under this part. Now let's look into the private and public goods. See, consumption of a good by one person does not reduce the amount available for others. Non-rivalry is one of the key characteristics of pure public good. Example, rice you can call it. Just because one person is eating, it doesn't reduce it doesn't mean that it's not available for others. Rice is always available for others too. Private good. A good is said to be rivalrous or rival if its consumption of by one consumer prevents the simultaneous consumption of others. Let's say if 10 chocolates are there and 10 people are there. If one man or woman eats three chocolates, there are only 7 left but 9 people to eat. So the quantity has reduced and affects consumption by other consumers. So this is the difference between public and private goods. Now, different types of economy recovery. This is again a very, very important topic. We should all look into it. A V-shaped economy. See here, economy might just get into like this. It's characterized by sharp decline in the economic activity followed by equally and sharp rebound. This is actually optimistic scenario as the economy quickly returns or even surpasses its pre-recession level, like China in the post-19 COVID. China in the post-COVID area saw a rapid rebound, in particular in the industrial output, which was driven by investment from state-owned enterprises. Next one is U-shaped. Here, the shape goes like this. Like it involves a sharp decline, but then the economy languishes at low growth rate. Slowly, it starts to pick up before gradually picking up and returning to its previous level. Like in US, the 1990 and 91 recession of US is one such economic recovery. Next one is W-shaped economic recovery. Here, see, like this is actually, yes. Here, this is the GDP, and this is the time frame. See, what happens is economy suddenly drops and slowly goes up, but again drops down before rising it completely. So this thing is W-shaped economic recovery. We can call it it was in Europe, actually European debt crisis between 2010 to 14, where several countries experienced a W-shaped recovery following the Great Recession, with a temporary rebound followed by another downturn due to sovereign debt crisis. So this was seen in the Europe in the recent 2010 to 14. Next one is L-shaped economic recovery. See, this is very, very bad recovery, to be honest. Like time is here and GDP is here. See, it doesn't recover at all. The economy never recovers from this part. So it signifies permanent loss of economic capacity. Like we can call it where economic is not able to come back to its original time frame at all. This can be seen in Greece, actually, post the 2008 global financial crisis, where the economy contracted severely after the crisis, and it struggled to recover for many years, with its GDP remaining significantly below the pre-crisis level. Next one is K-shaped recovery. So this is quite a different shape actually. See what happens is here, this is an average GDP of a country wherein uh, few sectors go here and few sectors rise up. See, this actually is seen or can be felt in India as well in the recent past. See, economy is going on good trail, and COVID-19 struck here, and economy came down to this point, and after which few sectors went up, few sectors were down, and few sectors went up. For example, um, industrial sectors were down. Industrial sectors started rising up, whereas IT, pharma all went down, forming the K-shaped recovery of Indian economy post COVID-19. Next one is Z-shaped. See here, the economy looks here, where the economy comes down and it goes up and post the recession levels and finally brings into the normal level. Like it also overshoots a brief boom due to the increased demand before settling back to the long-term growth trend. This is, however, very rarely seen in the practice. Next one is swoosh shaped. What is swoosh shaped? You can ask. Like here, an economy, it's nothing but like it goes in a swish. You can call it like it goes in a sliding way. It slowly climbs up. It slowly climbs up. But it is quite similar to you, but with slightly steeper initial recovery and more than a gradual return to pre-recession level. Like this is also not seen very regularly in economy. So we have a mains PYQ which was asked in 2021. Do you agree that the Indian economy has experienced a V-shaped recovery? Give reasons in support of your answer. So we have to look into this answer and look into this question and give answer accordingly. See, they have asked me like, do you agree that the Indian economy has recently experienced a V-shaped recovery? See, here for this question we have to know how to frame the answer. See, they have asked about V-shaped recovery in particular. So write, what is V-shaped recovery? What is V-shaped recovery here? This is very important aspect as well. What is V-shaped recovery? And so since they are asked, do you agree that the Indian economy has recently experienced V-shaped recovery? So we have to give reasons to support our answer. So arguments for and against. So we can give for support of V-shaped recovery. You can give like sharp GDP growth in post COVID-19, recovery of industrial production, amazing performance of stock market, and support of government and RBI policy for arguments for the growth. And against, against in the sense it must have worked out as K-shaped recovery, like uneven sectoral recovery, where few sectors recovered and few sectors have not recovered. Disparities in labor market, growing inequality, role of base effect. So we should write arguments for and against as reasons to support our answers, and conclude accordingly. Like we can conclude that uh, it worked on K-shaped recovery or V-shaped recovery depending upon the arguments you write. So guys, for today's answer writing, do use this question: do you agree that the Indian economy has recently experienced a V-shaped recovery? Give reasons in support of your answer. Like it comes for 15 marks, uh, 15 marks, which is like 250 words. So do try answering this and put it in the group for peer-to-peer evaluation. So with this, we are done with the basics of economy. I know it might look like a long lecture, but still it is very important to know the basics before proceeding further in deep into the Indian economy as well. So do comment your doubts anytime if you have any in the comment section or even the Telegram channel, and I'll be clearing it as soon as possible. As you might have seen the plan, we will be completing the economy along with a test series and stuff. So stay tuned and follow the lectures so that you can also complete economy in time. Thank you.